Hello friends, welcome back to Complete Medical Coding, a complete CPC learning channel. Now let's begin with ICD guidelines. Today let's learn few basic guidelines from the ICD section. Okay, so let's have a look into it. First let's learn the abbreviation. What is ICD-10? What is ICD-10-CM? Okay. ICD-10 represents International Classification of Diseases 10th revision, and then ICD-10 contains two code sets. One is ICD-10-CM, that is ICD-10 clinical modification, and the other one is ICD-10 PCS, means procedure coding system, but we are using ICD-10-CM clinical modification. Okay, so what is ICD-10-CM? It's a standardized classification of diagnosis codes that represent conditions and diseases, related health problems, abnormal findings, signs and symptoms, external causes of injuries and diseases, and social circumstances. Now, this ICD-10 is composed of codes with characters. How many characters? Either 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 characters. It can be either 3 to 7. It means minimum 3 characters should be there. Codes with 3 characters are included in ICD-10-CM. That may be further subdivided by the use of 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th characters like that. Okay, which provide a greater detail. A 3-character code is used only if it is not subdivided. If there is no subdivision, then only we will use the 3-character code. Character 1 is always alpha, character 2 is numeric, and characters 3 to 7 are either alpha or numeric. Okay. Then use of decimal will be there after the 3rd character. And there is a use of dummy placeholder also, which represents X if there is a continuous number of characters. See, these are few examples of ICD. E11.9. First 3 characters always it will be end with a decimal. Okay, first 3 characters, the decimal will be always it comes after the first 3 characters. If it is only 3 characters, see the second example, I10. Then another example, S32.010A, O9A.211, T36.0x1A. Here that X represents a dummy letter. It doesn't represent anything, but there is a continuation of that codes to be ended with to be ends with 7th character. So if there is nothing to place put in that place, then we will represent it as a X, which is called as placeholder. Okay. Now, how to find the correct code in 5 steps? Let's see how to check the correct code in by considering these 5 steps. First step, we should search for the alphabetical index of diagnostic terms in the ICD code book. Alphabetical index. Search for the alphabetical index. Find the correct ICD-10 code. The required term might not be found and can be listed under one of the main terms. That means if you take the index page, alphabetical index page in the ICD-10 in the ICD code book, you might not get the exact diagnosis what you need. So in that case, go for the main term. See the example. For example, congenital cataract. We need the exact diagnosis as congenital cataract, but it might not be there, but it is listed under cataract. So if you cannot find the congenital cataract diagnosis, then go for cataract, and then below the cataract section you can find the congenital part, congenital term. Okay, so like that you need to code from the alphabetical index. Second point, check the tabular list. There is a tabular list also mentioned in the CPT code book. Tabular list. Some characters require a sixth character to represent the laterality or to represent the continuation of procedure, whatever it is. For example, for coding glaucoma, sixth character represents laterality. That means example is 1, the number 1 for right eye, 2 for left eye, 3 for both eyes, or 7th character represent staging. So this means the laterality is mentioned. So all those laterality terms like from character 6 to 6 and 7, if we need the exact description for the character 6 and 7, you need to always check the tabular list. Okay, like exam to discriminate if it is both eyes, bilateral, or not only eyes, this is just an example, or if it is left side, right side, like that. So check the tabular list. Third one, read the code's instructions. There are few instructions also mentioned below the codes, same like CPT. You should read all those codes. See, that means codes entering tabular list provides all diagnosis code requirements. Meet excludes 1 and excludes 2. What is excludes 1 and excludes 2? Sometimes you can see in diagnosis excludes 1, excludes 2. Excludes 1 flag represents those codes can't be submit together or can't be built together. But if it is excludes 2, it means those flag codes can be submit together or those codes can be reported together. Okay. For example, building of diagnosis code for the same eye on the same day. These are examples. When we will start learning more in detail, the chapter wise and the practice questions, you will be understanding it more. Okay. This just means that there will be excludes condition, excludes 1 and excludes 2 below the few ICD codes. So if it mention excludes 1, it means we should not build that code together along with our main primary code. Okay. If it excludes 2, we can build it together. Now fourth point, if it is an injury or trauma, always add a 7th character. 7th character represents, if it is an injury or trauma, you should always mention the 7th character as either A, D or S. Use one of the following, A, D or S. A represents initial encounter, D represents subsequent encounter, and S represents sequela. This needs to be added in the 7th character if it is an injury or trauma. Okay. For example, code S05.01 represents injury of conjunctiva and corneal abrasion without foreign body right eye. As it represents an injury, we should add a 7th character to represent if it is initial. A, D or S means initial or subsequent or sequela. Since code S05.01 is only a 5 character code, see how many characters it is? It is only 5 characters. So after 5, we cannot put directly as A, D or S. There should be one 6th letter also, character also, right? After that only the 7th characters will come. So we will mention that 6th character as X, placeholder. This is where we use the placeholder digit X. So use X as a placeholder in the 6th character. So how will we add, how will the code represent if we add A? The code will be S05.01XA, which represents the initial encounter. If it is a subsequent encounter, D, S05.01XD. And if it is a sequela, S05.01XS. This is how we need to code. Sequela means late effects, means we don't have anything to do. That is a final stage, like that. Initial encounter means initially the patient has a normal injury and the patient has come to see the doctor. Initial visit, like it's not a major thing, it's a minor issue. And the middle one is subsequent encounter. Okay. Now 5th point, if glaucoma, you should add a 7th character. For glaucoma cases also, you should add a 7th character. But what we will add in 7th character? These 5 things, these 5 numbers, either 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4. 0 for stage unspecified, 1 for mild, 2 for moderate, 3 for severe, and 4 for indeterminate. See the example. Code H40.2232 represents a bilateral chronic angle closure glaucoma moderate stage. That is the exact description of that code. Okay. So breaking that down, let's see what it is exactly. H40.22. What is H40.22? That represents a chronic angle closure glaucoma, a simple diagnosis. Chronic angle closure glaucoma diagnosis is H40.22. And the 3 in the 6th position indicates that it is bilateral. Because it is bilateral, we will use 3 in the 6th position. And then in the 7th position, it indicates a moderate stage. Because 7th position, the number is 2. It indicates moderate stage. Okay, that's how the coding will be. Okay. Now, always few more guidelines. Always code to the highest degree of accuracy and completeness. Okay, we should always code the highest degree. Few diagnosis looks the same, but we should always code to the highest degree. This not only, these guidelines not only used for the exam, but also for the interviews and for your future, for your career purposes. Okay, so always code to the highest degree of accuracy and completeness. The best code is the actual diagnosis. The next best is a sign or symptom. And the last resort is a circumstance. Circumstance is a V code. Okay, circumstance means can be, it could be, possible item, all those things. So the first thing, the best code is the actual diagnosis. If there is an actual diagnosis or a confirmed diagnosis, you should code that confirmed diagnosis. If not, then the next best is the sign or symptom, signs and symptoms. If not, the last one is a circumstance. Let's see the example. It will be there down. Only code established conditions. We should code only established conditions. Means not probable, suspected, possible, or rule out conditions like that. Only if it is an established one, then only we can code. Imagination, imaginary codes. Okay, this can be this. It could be a heart attack. Like that, we cannot bill. It could be a. This patient might be having DM, diabetes. So we can bill for diabetes. No, we cannot do like that. Okay, if it is not code only if it is a confirmed diagnosis. See, dash indicates multiple diagnosis code options. For example, H59.02 dash. In few codes, if you see the ICD book, there will be a dash in the end that represents the diagnosis, like multiple diagnosis code options are there. So that here in this example, H59.02 dash represents, it could be either H59.021 or H59.022 or H59.023. Where 1 represents the right eye, 2 represents the left eye, 3 represents both the eyes. Okay, so always check what is mentioned in the ICD code book. Now, and wherever you see and indicates, doesn't mean that is and itself. It can be either and or. For example, H26.0 means infantile and juvenile cataract. The description of this code H26.0 means infantile and juvenile cataract. This doesn't mean that infantile and juvenile cataract. This means it can be either both infantile and juvenile cataract, or can be infantile or juvenile cataract. Anything also. Okay. X is used as a placeholder, as I already mentioned before. Now, always use the main code as the primary diagnosis. If there is a multiple diagnosis, you should always use the main code as the primary diagnosis. What the patient has came for, or what procedure the doctor has done, and what the doctor has confirmed the diagnosis, that is used as the primary diagnosis. Don't code any unconfirmed diagnosis. This is very important. Now, what do you mean by combination code? Combination code means single code used to classify two different diagnoses. For example, hypertension with CKD means chronic kidney disease. There will be, you should not code separately if there is a combination code. You should not code hypertension, CKD. No. If there is a combination code, you should always use the combination code. So here the combination code will be I12.9, hypertensive chronic kidney disease. Okay, like that we need to code. So friends, these are few guidelines from the ICD, like basics of ICD, basic guidelines from the ICD section. We will start with the chapter wise sessions from the next upcoming episodes. So please stay tuned for the more videos, upcoming videos. And if there is any inquiries, please mention it in the comments. Please like, share, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe also. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.